Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're going to talk about optimizing conversions with personalization. The session today is presented by Adobe and Integration New Media. So as we get started, I wanted to do a quick rundown of the agenda for today's session. We're going to do some quick introductions, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what personalization is, why it matters, take a look at some metrics, and we're going to dive into personalization and targeting. We'll get into a little bit more depth on the role of targeting, what the different types of targeting are, and how you can get started with some simple targeting efforts. Later, we're going to see some examples of clients that are effectively delivering personalized targeted communications across channels with great results. And finally, we're going to be looking at the Adobe Target solution, and we're going to have a little bit of a preview of the brand new Target that was just rolled out last week. This is a solution that thousands of marketers today are using to create, deliver, and optimize personal experiences. So on the line today with me is Edouard Lafange. She's a partner solution consultant at Adobe. And Edouard's going to be taking over in a couple minutes to really dig into a lot more depth on the subject of targeting. So
Thanks,
I
Andrea. Good
just wanted
morning,
to
everyone.
start. Good morning. We welcome your demo and your presentation here. So I'm going to just do a couple of quick slides on introductions. So the first thing I'm going to take a look at is who we are, who's Integration New Media, and why are we joining Adobe and presenting this content today. So Integration New Media, or INM for short, we're an Adobe Solutions partner at the business level. We were founded in 1989. We have more than 24 years experience in helping organizations build engaging digital solutions. We offer a variety of services around the Adobe Marketing Cloud, which includes Target, the solution you're seeing today, Adobe Experience Manager, and the Analytics solution as well. And we're going to get a little more depth on the product suite. We provide analysis, consulting, best practice guidance, implementation, and integration services to clients across the globe on these solutions. So let's talk a little bit about personalization. And I always like to start with a bit of a definition just so everybody's on the same page and we're all talking about the same topic. So when we talk about personalization, what do we mean? We're referring specifically to the ability to provide the most meaningful experience to your customers at each touch point. So looking at how you're going to leverage data to tailor content, products, and offers. So this goes beyond more than just a simple personalized greeting or a hello, Andrea, when you hit a website. We're talking about strategically leveraging data to tailor content, to tailor product recommendations, and even to influence on-site search results for particular users. So this can be as simple as breaking the users that you're talking to into segments based on demographics and presented targeted offers, or analyzing things like past data and purchase history to present relevant products and promotions for something like a print mailer. It's looking at the full cross-channel view. Overall, we're looking at how you're going to present the right experience to users at the right time on the right channel. So personalization really can come into play at various stages in the customer relationship. So when we look at three individuals, they may on the surface look very different, but they may have some similarities as well. So when we're looking at a data-driven personalization approach, it's really powerful in terms of engaging new visitors. So by sharing basic customer variables such as where they're coming from, their region, their device type, you can welcome a returning customer or a visitor with experience that really reflect their browsing history and their preferences. Personalization helps to also keep users on the site longer. It has a higher likelihood of leading to conversion at a higher rate and a higher consumption level. Users that have a personalized interaction will view more content or view more pages on your site, and they'll have a higher average order value as well. And personalization is also great for creating brand affinity and customer loyalty. When users are greeted with that personalized experience, they really feel like they're getting a better customer service level. This is like higher customer satisfaction, and visitors really feel valued in that interaction. So these are some reasons that personalization is important. So when we dive into that a little bit more, users will spend more time on your site, they'll view more content, view more products, they'll be more deeply engaged, they're more open to your messaging. They'll interact on multiple channels. So they may be on your social sites, they may be on your in your newsletter every week, they may be in your stores and online, etc. So that level of interaction is great and much deeper, as well as the level of loyalty. This is the audience that feels that they're engaged with your brand and they're more likely to become brand evangelists. So the interesting thing is that there's been some negative press years back about tracking and data collection to provide these personalized experiences. But today, customers know that websites are tracking their online behaviors. It's something that they expect, and it's something that they actually react quite positively to. There's a recent survey that came out a couple weeks back that looked at customers who knew that they were in a personalized data collection and knew that they were getting a personalized experience on a website. And 50% of those users said that they would return to that website, that they'd buy products and services from the site. 46%, 38 will recommend the website to others, and 33 will make purchases in store as a result. So not only are customers responding to it or saying they'll respond to a personalized experience, but they are responding. The numbers are very clear. Marketers who measure the impact of personalization on conversion see an average lift in sales of around 19%, which is quite significant. So when we talk about personalization, it's not a new concept. This isn't something revolutionary. It's something that marketers have been looking at and they've been striving to do for years. But the challenges have often been the technology and the access to data to really make this happen for them. So advancements in technology have really made the concept easier for marketers to implement these days. So data is more data is available to us as marketers, and that data is increasingly being unlocked and usable by marketers without the intervention of IT teams, which is a key aspect. So marketers they've had access to some demographic data over the last several years, but now they're increasingly able to access things like behavioral data. They're able to see how users are interacting with their site, what they're purchasing, what they're looking at. So this behavioral data makes that profile even richer to be able to personalize and target those messages. And and more, marketers are getting access to contextual data. So contextual data, they're able to see how they're accessing the content, what their patterns of interaction are over time, where they're accessing this information from. So they're able to provide an even more personalized experience with access to that data. And also the growth of mobile has really changed and become a huge catalyst for personalization. It's changing how marketers think about their strategies and how personalization is becoming a more critical aspect of their total marketing mix. So it's kind of a nice to have and a very strong performer when we're talking about desktop personalization and that multi-channel desktop multi-channel personalization view. But when you're talking about mobile, it's really a must-have these days. Users are they have a limited focus, limited attention, limited ability to navigate and dig for relevance. They really expect that on a mobile device that their context is considered and that their content is really personalized and targeted. So it provides significant advantages. So we were talking before about the importance of personalization. So over half of companies, well, a little over 64% actually of companies today see that personalization is a priority for them. Yet only about half of this number have actively implemented personalization techniques. Now, why is that? Really, there have been a lot of perceived roadblocks for personalization and targeting. And a lot of those play around IT and legacy technology, data that is not accessible or locked in silos, that from the multiple channels they can't combine to create user profiles to do effective targeting, that the process of doing that targeting has been more complex and difficult for them. But really, this is really important to note that this has changed. It's really not a barrier to entry at all today for marketers. Today's personalization technology has matured and it's designed for marketers. It's easy to set up, it integrates with multiple systems and data sources, and it's scalable across multiple channels and customer touch points. So that leads us nicely into some more information about targeting. So I'm going to hand things over to Edwald, and he's going to take it from here to give a little bit more information about targeting in general and the different types and what marketers can do and show some specific customer implementations of that as well. So Edward, I'm going to pass things over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. Let's see, I'm going to take control of the of the deck. That's okay. Let's see. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get the. So can you all see my screen? Let's see. Apologize for this. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so thanks everyone. Thanks, Andrea, for this introduction. So for the second part of this presentation, we're going to go a bit deeper into how you put personalization in place and what sort of personalization you can do, especially with Adobe's marketing cloud solutions. So for those of you who know Adobe and did not necessarily know our involvement in with marketing, Adobe has been around for more than 30 years now, and ever since we started, our motto was changing the world through digital experiences. And while digital experiences for a long time was all about delivering engaging content, and Adobe has been very good at doing this. Today, you cannot really deliver content to your audience without measuring it, without tailoring it to your visitors and to whoever is getting this content. So with this in mind, Adobe over the last few years has been going through quite a lot of acquisitions um, in the field of digital marketing. That started in 2009 with Omniture, uh, really the leader when it comes to online analytics, followed with Day CQ, which does content management and web experience management in general, Demdex, which is a demand-side platform for audience manager, Auditude, Efficient Frontier. In 2013, Q3, we acquired Neolane, which is a great player in campaign management. So with all these acquisitions, we ended up with tons of parts that could create something really good if we managed to put them together, which is what we did. So we had a lot of capabilities in our portfolio, and in order to be intelligible to our customers or partners as well, we decided to put them all in 5 big categories, which are analytics, everything has to do with online analytics. So when I say online, that means multi-channel as well. So we don't really distinguish between web, apps, mobile. We are able, using our analytics tools, to analyze everything in one suite. Experience Manager, content delivery, content optimization, so web experience management. Social is everything that has to do with social listening, social engagement. We have a great platform that lets you not only listen to the conversation but also get involved. Media Optimizer, all about media ad buying, AdWord bidding automated. This is a really good platform if you do AdWords in particular. And today's subject, which is Adobe Target. So we're going to dive deeper into Adobe Target today. Of course, we are still doing the creative part of Adobe. We really have this unique position on the market where we are able to, we provide our customers and the audience with tools to create engaging content. These are the Photoshops, the creative suites, Acrobats, all the tools creative professionals use in their everyday life. And now we provide them as well with everything that they need to deliver this content, measure it, and optimize it. So if we look at the big picture, we are able to give these sort of capabilities to our customers. So first of all, create assets, manage those and deliver those using Adobe Experience Manager. We have, of course, the backend that lets you measure how this content is performing, analyze things all the way to very detailed audience segmentation, which you can then use to personalize the experience, to socialize it, which means deliver it not only on your own properties but also on social networks, and then, well, tie it back to your advertising as well, because all this data that you got on your site, on your various properties, you can use this as input to optimize your advertising spend. So today's focus will be on the personalized part. So Adobe Targets as a solution. For those of you who were familiar with Omniture's offering, Adobe Target is actually the convergence of several former point solutions or point products, which were Adobe Targets, Adobe Test and Targets, Adobe Test and Target one-to-one, which is fully automated one-to-one targeting, recommendations, and search and promote. So all those are now available as one solution from Adobe, which means that as a marketer, you have complete freedom to do simple testing and targeting, A/B testing, and the day you want, if you want to start on recommendations, on search and promote, you can do that because it is available to you without having to use a different product. So something that gives you a very, very high level of flexibility. So using all those capabilities, you have at your disposal a platform that will give you, of course, A/B testing capabilities, multivariate, rules-based targeting, geo-targeting, automated decisioning, on-site search optimization, and on-site recommendations. So I'll go a bit deeper into all these capabilities in the rest of the presentation. But at the heart, really, targeting and personalized experiences is always the same principle. You need to have data, so everything that you know about your current visitor. You need to have content, and this is where professional creatives get into play. All this data-driven personalization only works if you have good creative content at the base that you can deliver to your audience. So, and the combination of your data and your content using data-driven decisions will enable you to create a response that will be the most relevant. And of course, the system will always test that this assembly of data and content is the most relevant you can find. When it comes to personalization, one thing that is important to keep in mind is that we do not, when we consider personalization takes place across a lot of devices. As Andrea mentioned earlier, mobile is now a very important part of getting in touch with your customers and your audience. Companies don't get to choose what their customers and what their audience is going to select as a device when they interact with the brand. So you need to give them a great experience and to give them the same sort of personalization whatever the device they use, not only on the web but also on various networks. That can be from Facebook to LinkedIn to Twitter. So depending on your field of business, depending on your audience, you will interact with an audience where you will want to personalize the message across the customer journey. So that can be from the first touch across a site to a confirmation page, or that can be from Facebook or from LinkedIn to your site to a confirmation. So targeting takes place across all this, all across the customer journey. So when it comes to targeting, these are typically the sort of variables that we take into account when we decide to decide what sort of experience we should give to a visitor. So the first one is quite obvious: site behavior variables, what people do on the site during that visit, during previous visits, how often they come, etc. So this enables us to get a first idea of what people are looking for. Temporal variables, used very often as well. So when people visit the site, for instance, for our FSI customers, depending on whether people connect during business hours or connect during the evening, during the weekend. It is usually an indicator of whether people connect for professional reasons or for personal reasons. So this is a very powerful variable to leverage for personalization. Environment variables, this is really where personalization starts. What device people are using. Should you give them a personalized, a custom version of your site because they are using an iPad and you want to really have a special experience on the iPad? Refer variables, very important at several levels. So where people come from, what they visited just before, whether they're coming from social networks, whether they came from paid search, so whether they came from an emailing campaign as well. So it gives you a great indication on what sort of interactions they had with you beforehand. And then, well, all the rest, what we call offline variables. So additional data that comes from your CRM, from your call center, from third-party data as well. And Adobe Target is able to take all these variables into account to create your personalized experience. So a very basic personalized experience. This could be for this sample site, Geometrics Outdoors, company who sells outdoor gear, and you have this big banner in the front, this hero banner. The question usually will be, well, is this hero banner the most effective content to feature? And what you will do, and this is A/B testing, you will create different alternatives, and Adobe Target is going to measure the behavior of the different segments of your audience who were exposed to experience A, B, C, D. And as you can see here, you can see the number of visitors. So this is fully automated testing. As you can see, there's roughly 25% of the audience who sees every experience. And then you will see what sort of conversion rates you have. So conversion will usually happen somewhere else on the site. Conversion, depending on your business, could be for online commerce, very simple, as simple as buying something. For B2B, that would be maybe opening a lead, a call request, and be linked to a Salesforce lead generation. So that could be a white paper download. So every business, every company will have a different definition of what conversion is. But at the end of the day, what Target will do is measure the sort of lift you get on each experience compared to compared to each other. So in this case, for instance, we get a 33% lift on experience D. On the right, you can see here the statistical confidence level that we have, because of course, the more people see those experiences, the more they will be, the more the lift will be significant from a statistical level. So this is simple A/B testing. Of course, you can do A/B testing not only on web properties, but for instance, if you send email campaigns, images that are inside your emailing can be personalized as well. In this case, for instance, we have somebody who sent an emailing campaign where they had a header here, and what they measured as conversion is whether people clicked on the call to actions inside that emailing campaign. And since all these images are loaded as people go along and as people open the mail, it enabled them to very rapidly find out what image was the winner, and whenever people opened their email at a later stage, they were presented with this image that was the most effective. You can also use this for retargeting, so personalizing images, advertisements outside of your site. For instance, here you can see on CNN Travel, so Geometrics Outdoors advertising on the right side. And depending on the audience, depending on whether people looked at one part of the site or the other, Adobe Target is able to personalize these advertisements that is displayed on external sites as well. So this is another capability. A good example of a company putting all this into action is Dell. Dell has used personalization and targeting to get people back on track when they start to purchase something. So here you can see the Dell site. And what they are doing here is they are selecting and they are modifying the first page here depending on what people did during previous visits to offer a selection of choices that matches their behavior during previous visits as closely as possible. They also do post-purchase retargeting, so personalization of the site. Somebody bought an Inspiron 15R. Well, it sounds only logical that when they come back, they are offered links and calls to action that are relevant to their previous behavior on the site. Dell, using this, so simple but very effective personalization, were able to get more than a 10% lift on conversion. And this is a sort of figure, so double-digit lifts are very, very common when you implement personalization, and this is one of the very nice parts of this solution. So when it comes to personalization, until now I was talking about testing, personalization, targeting. Testing and targeting really go hand in hand. In this screen, you can see this is an example of interface where you have a whole series of experiences that are offered to different parts of the audience. And on the right, we also have segments. So we can identify people coming from Bing, Google, Yahoo. What we're able to do with Target is, well, identify a winner and then ask the system to just fully automate the delivery of the experience to push the winner as soon as it is as you get a significant lift. But the interesting part when you introduce segments as well is that a testing campaign that provides an experience that provides an average lift in overall performance could actually, if you break it down into segments, be an experience that provides a great lift in some segments and actually does not provide a lift at all or even lowers conversion on other segments. So if you introduce segments in your testing and your targeting, you are able to find out, for instance, that segment 1 is more receptive to experience B, and segment 2 is more receptive to experience C. So Target will be able to deliver the best performing experience to each of your identified segments to improve overall lifts rather than give you the best average lifts. Makes a huge difference. So as you can tell by now, so targeting and testing can be done with rules. So you define your segments, you define a few rules, and you fully control how you're going to segment and how you're going to target, and you will be able to test how effective this is. So it's kind of a if this then that sort of campaigns. This is great, and this is a great way to start and usually gives extremely good results. The only issue with this is as you mature, you will usually end up with more and more rules, which can sometimes become difficult to manage after a while. So this leads usually our customers to go into algorithm-based targeting. So all these, of course, are offered by Adobe Target. So algorithm-based is to give, especially when it comes to recommendations, we use concepts such as popularity, affinity, similar segment behavior. So people who viewed these sort of things have this sort of behavior afterwards, so we can personalize based on this. So it gives you more automation to manage rather than manage huge rule sets. And as algorithms grow, you will always end up with a part of your visitor audience that you cannot really, that is different from everything you've seen before. There is always a significant part of the audience that you cannot put into segments. And this is the role of the most advanced part of Adobe Target, which is modeling based. So the idea of modeling based is that you will feed Adobe Target with as many variables as you can, and you will let the system decide what to do. And of course, what works on a particular site is very specific to that site, to the business, etc. So what Adobe Target does with modeling-based personalization is really create a model of visitor behavior and manages to target content based on whatever is significant in those variables. Adobe.com is a great example. And Adobe.com, we have a very significant part of our visitors whom we cannot put into, I don't know, creative professional or student category. So we use modeling-based targeting to target that part of the population, and it gave us as well a roughly 19% lift over simply, well, giving random, personalizing at random and testing at random. So, but this is in a way what you do once you have all the rest lined up. So in the curve of maturity and the complexity, so rules-based is really the way to start, algorithm-based second, and then modeling-based for all the rest. A great example of modeling based would be Sony. Sony.com used this to select the hero banner on Sony.com. So for visitors they don't know about at all, um, they used one-to-one targeting to select what sort of hero banner would work best. And they found this sort of result. So people were 84% more likely to engage when presented with a personalized banner than just a random banner, and they are also twice as likely to spend on their online store. So very, very significant results. Another aspect of personalizing is everything that has to do with on-site recommendations and search. So the idea is to understand how you can create relevant recommendations on your site. Again, depending on your business, recommendations could be something as simple as product recommendations, but in B2B situations, um, if you provide properties where your visitors are bound to search for content, recommendations will usually be very relevant as well. So an example would be with RAI, for instance. RAI using Adobe Target is able to use whatever it knows about current customer and other customers to provide relevant information in the recommendations at the bottom of the page. So for instance, here we have somebody who viewed or purchased these socks with toes. So recommendations at the bottom will reflect this taste of that particular visitor. But it will also work more generally. For instance, this is not a very, joyful occasion, but when the tsunami hit Japan a bit more than a year ago, um, customer behavior changed right away on REI.com, and people rushed to buy, well, emergency gear, and recommendations reflected that on the site right away. So Adobe Target realized that people were looking for something else, and so the recommendation engine just updated by itself. Another part that is extremely important on the site and is very relevant and is a great way to work with personalization is on-site search. As analysts keep telling us, people use on-site search very much on site. So nearly a third, or more than a third of visitors use search as their um, first activity. Two-thirds use search as their primary form of navigation, and a lot of people just give up if their search doesn't work. So on-site search is very important, and intuitively the best sort of on-site search you can get is, well, search that gives your visitors um, relevant information and something that, well, matches their expectations, but also benefits you from a business standpoint. um, I like to compare this to what happens when you walk into a store. A good salesperson in a store will, of course, well, lead you to things you are looking for, but they will also, well, kind of bias their recommendations based on their own business objectives. And this is exactly the role of on-site of Target for on-site search. So based on what you know about the customer, you will give them on-site search that is really tuned to what you think they will like most. Levi's, for instance, is a customer who uses on-site search using Adobe Target. And so if you are looking for shorts on Levi's.com, depending on whether they identified you as somebody who's female or male, They will, well, give you results for shorts, of course, but they will just select different kinds of shorts depending on your, well, gender affinity. So this is something, and this is something that works very well, and of course that leads to much greater conversion because people receive results that are much more relevant to them. You can actually use a mix of rules and natural relevance. So natural relevance is, well, what the search engine would give you without any additional business rule. And rules is a set of data that is a way to bias your results based on different kinds of data. For instance, here you can have you can play on, for instance, site catalysts, so analytics conversion, so products that convert well, products that bring you a lot of revenue, products that are older in the inventory. Or for instance, here we are at season end for a clothing store. So we tend to bias the search results based on the level of inventory, which makes perfect sense. This is how a brick and mortar store works. So this gives you the ability to mimic that sort of behavior, but at the scale of the web. On-site search also gives you additional, well, goodies, such as you see on the left, faceted search from, so of course, categories, but also color, price range. And it is very easy, well, especially if you use Adobe Experience Manager, to just customize your on-site search using all these parameters. You can also have in-search targeting, such as this breathable while you run haze jacket, and of course the actual search results. So a lot of different aspects that really optimize on-site search. So this is really a quick overview of Adobe Target and the various capabilities that we offer to our customers. Now I'm going to talk briefly about the new Adobe Target. So everything that you have seen, of course, is Adobe Target and works perfectly well, but we have just introduced a new version of Target that is going to really improve your day-to-day targeting experience as a marketer. So today, well, we know that our customers have made really hundreds of millions of dollars in incremental revenue using Target, and all our customers know that, well, the more you test, the more you target, the more effective it is. So the question was, how can we help our customers really do their targeting on an everyday basis as easily as possible? So the idea is to have a new interface that just in a few clicks, in a few minutes, will let you just launch a test and get results very, very fast. As you can see on the right, you have somebody with an iPad and a pen. This is not incidental. We have designed our new interface to be very easy to use, both on desktop interfaces and on tablets as well. So the three big drivers for this new solution, or this new improvement, was, as Andrea mentioned earlier in the presentation, marketers, as you saw in the figures, often complain of the dependence they have on IT that sometimes makes their life more difficult. If they want to launch a test, to launch a campaign, they have to coordinate with people who have the hand on the web properties. This is not. It usually works out fine, except that it's not as fast and not as efficient as it should be. So we have created what we call a visual experience composer. I will show you in the demo right afterwards. The second one, well, the difficulty of using the data you have to drive your personalization. So now, using Adobe Target, we have a great tool that lets you share audience segments and lets you have people who work on audience segments, other people who use those audience segments to target very easily. And the third one was, well, sometimes was a bit difficult to use. The learning curve was a bit steep. So the idea here was, if you want to do A/B testing, it should be easy. It shouldn't take more than a few minutes. So we have created a tool that does exactly this. So now there's no excuse not to target and not to test. So let's take a look at the interface live. This will be better than just slides. So let me just switch very rapidly to Google Chrome, where I have logged into the Adobe Marketing Cloud interface. So I'm doing this demo on a desktop computer for obvious reasons. This interface works just as well on an iPad. So I am logged in here on my interface, and I have access to Adobe Target. So let's click on Adobe Target, and I want to. So testing and targeting advanced is all the capabilities I told you about today. Testing and targeting essentials is this new interface that lets you launch tests very fast. So let's do this. Clicking on testing and targeting essentials, and I'm going to create a new activity. So a new activity is going. So first thing, well, give it a name. Test the homepage hero banner, and ask us to enter an objective. Are we getting the most out of this space? The next logical step if you want to target an experience. Let's see. Yes, there is a way. In case my screen is not large enough, you should have a go full screen button on your Connect room as well, so you can enlarge the screen if you wish. So the second step when it comes to creating a targeted experience is to choose the audience. So here, very easy, you just click on choose the audience, and all these are audience segments that were defined. So in this particular interface, well, they all come from Adobe Target because this is a pure Target demo, but using the Adobe Marketing Cloud in general, and if you remember the 5 solutions, analytics, social, experience manager, target, media optimizer, all these analytics in particular are also able to create audience segments. And so when using the Adobe Marketing Cloud, so any of those solutions together, those sources for visitor segments can come from anywhere. So you can have, discover an audience segment on Adobe Analytics and share it to be used on Adobe Target. And it is as simple as, for instance, selecting. So I want to target my enterprise customers here. So somebody defined what an enterprise customer is for me. So now I'm going to target enterprise customers. And now I'm going to create different alternatives, A/B testing. So let's just add an experience. And what I'm going to do here, and this is the Visual Composer, I'm going to use, for instance, the adobe.com homepage. And as you can see, this is adobe.com. And what I want to do is, well, select different parts of this homepage. And what the Visual Composer enables you to do is just with your mouse, select, for instance, this hero banner here, and I can select, say, okay, I want to swap the image, and it's going to present me with with resources that are in the Adobe Marketing Cloud Digital Asset Manager. And so I want to target enterprise customers. So my creative team created this great hero banner here for enterprise. This does not look very good, so I'm going to just hide this item and hide this as well. Okay, now I have this new container, and this is my second experience. I click OK, and I have another experience. I can say, okay, I want to create yet another one, and I can, for instance, edit the HTML here for enterprise customers. And as you can see, I am editing the web page here without having any sort of direct access to the website. I won't get into technical details too much, but as long as the Adobe Target tag is present on the site, you are able to manipulate the look and feel of this page without having to call your IT department to do those changes. So now I have 3 different experiences. I can choose different weights. So between Control B, C, by default I'll get equal weighing on all, and I can say, okay, now I have to define what works and what doesn't. So by creative cloud, and my success metric is going to be, for instance, a revenue that is measured as a revenue per visitor, and the location will be, let's see, the end of the shopping cart. So once I have finalized my shopping cart, this is measured here. So I am presented with a hero banner on the first page, but conversion, my goal, actually happens somewhere later down the line. So this is what I measure. I have a lot of additional options, but as you can see, the interface by default is very straightforward. It's really foolproof. And now I have my campaign that is ready. I can choose, of course, to activate it, to automatically deactivate it, to give it priority that can be low, medium, high. I can have several campaigns running in parallel that overlap, so I can just modify this. And if I click on save and close, then I would put this this campaign live here. So I'm not going to save it here because I don't want to change our homepage. This is a demo account anyway. So, but as you can see, a campaign that is live here. If I click on reports, I can get, so this is a test system, so you won't get significant results here, but as you can see here, this is a campaign with two different experiences, and you would get here the number of page views per visit and the number of visitors, engagement, lift, confidence. So a really simple to use interface that is targeted for simple A/B testing, but let marketers just launch their campaigns. They want to test something anywhere on the site, they can do it with just a few clicks, put it live, test, get the results, optimize. The rest of the Adobe Target interface is progressively moving to this new interface as well. So, and we are on pretty fast recycles and improvements on Adobe Target here. So you can look forward to a fully touch-enabled, very easy to use targeting solution that provides you with, well, pretty much every sort of targeting capabilities that are available in the market today. So this concludes my walkthrough of Adobe Target and the new Adobe Target interface. So Andrea, back to you.
Yes, that's great. Thank you so much for that overview. It was really informative, and you know, the new target interface. I think many of you will share my thoughts. It's just incredibly impressive from a marketer standpoint. It offers a lot of control and a lot of functionality. We've left a few minutes at the end of the presentation here for questions. So certainly Audrey has typed in to everybody. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please feel free to type those in the chat. We're going to be able to handle some of those and to take those. So you can reply to her privately, or you can reply to everybody and type your questions in the chat. Audrey, have you had any questions throughout the session today?
We haven't had any questions yet, but I have one that we hear quite often. So can you hear me fine?
Yes.
So we've often been asked how Target is priced. So is it subscription based, or is it a license acquisition?
So Target is
Edward,
subscription
perhaps you could
based.
take that one.
Yes, Target is subscription based on the volume of target calls that you use. So we have different bands of subscription. One thing that is really good with Adobe Target as it stands today, as I mentioned earlier on, we had test and target, recommendations, search and promote, and all these were linked to different subscriptions. So if you had Adobe Target and you wanted to do a bit of a on-site search, you needed to subscribe to search and promote. Now we have simplified the model a lot. So if you subscribe to Target, you can decide within your server call allocation to reserve some for search and promote, some for target, some for recommendations, which means that if you start with simple A/B testing and want to move on to recommendations afterwards, you can do that without having to subscribe to something different. So it makes everybody's life much easier.
For that overview. So we don't actually have any additional questions that are coming in. So I think you've done a very, very good overview here today. I'm just going to type in my contact info to the chat box here. So if anyone has questions that come up afterwards, please feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to answer those. And I want to thank everybody for coming today and for joining us for this session. It's certainly been a very good overview.
Thank you, Audrey. Thanks, everyone. We have a question. So somebody typing questions, so we still have a few minutes, so don't hesitate to ask away.
Waiting. Is the new target solution available now, or is that coming out shortly?
It is available now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. Excellent. Okay, so I think we can wrap things up, and we will be making the recording of this session available. So if you have any colleagues that would like to access that, we'll be following up with a link to that. So please feel free to share that and to pass that around, and we'll make that available. And we'll also put that up on our INM YouTube channel as well to make that available for anybody who wants to listen to the recording afterwards. So thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see you at the next session we offer.